Good news can often get overlooked or buried by the negative in our everyday lives. So let's change that. I'm Adrianna.
And I'm Wyatt.
We're just two ordinary people without any special qualifications or anything, trying to navigate life. We invite you to join us as we share wholesome stories, news articles of hope, and ideas about how we can all make the world just a little bit brighter. We are uplifting positive stories. Welcome back to another episode of Uplifting Positive Stories. Thanks for joining us, everybody.
Ready for another positive journey
Another positive journey.
into the unknown, which is sometimes scary, but also could be good, such as life.
Yes, 100%.
This is what happens when
Persevering.
we record in the evening.
Through anxieties.
I get weird.
Fair. Today's is all about persevering through anxieties. We're going to be sharing some interesting stories of people finding out ways to cope with their anxieties over situations, social anxieties, things of that nature.
The unknown.
See,
it's relevant.
Yes.
My weirdness is relevant.
And then on top of that, also having some stories, things that people posted of their strategies of ways of looking at life or ways of coping with anxiety-filled thoughts. And I thought they were very profound, so I thought it would be interesting to share. Again, before we start this episode, just to always clarify, involving stuff with anxieties, we are no experts. We have no psychology degrees or anything like that. No, so take what we say in our thoughts as just simply thoughts and opinions on these stories. So I want to put that disclaimer whenever we talk about something like this. So
Now you know.
Now you know. All right, here we go. This is from Best of Redditor Updates. It was originally posted on TIFU, which is basically Today I Screwed Up. And it is titled, Cute Girl Starts Conversation with OP, Anxiety Takes Over. Here we go.
We've been there.
We've been there.
I've been there.
I've been there for sure, too. Here we go. First off, I have social anxiety. It's especially bad when talking to girls. 1,000 times worse when I find them attractive.
If you don't find them attractive, it's still anxiety, but like it's much more if you find them attractive. That's an interesting little add-on.
That was funny. I recently got into extremely good shape. Not only have I noticed I get treated extremely differently, I've noticed girls actually take notice to me sometimes. While finishing my run on the treadmill, I started to warm down and finished my run with a small walk. Inevitably, at one point, I looked over and made eye contact with a cute girl 2 machines down. Being naturally nervous, I smiled and looked away straight after. A moment passed and she cleaned her machine off and stood on the treadmill next to me, gesturing at my earbuds. I took them off and she proceeded to ask me what my kind of headphones were. Everything went quickly downhill from there. After about 30 seconds of small talk, I could feel my anxiety setting into every part of my body. It took me about another 30 seconds before I could no longer walk and talk at the same time. My body decided the walking part was the issue here, not me awkwardly trying to form coherent sentences that didn't make me sound like a clueless idiot who has never had a social interaction before. Not even a moment later, I effortlessly glided off the treadmill, landing on the ground behind me, now looking at this girl glancing down at me like I had 7 heads. I'm sorry if I'm bothering you. Before she finished her sentence, I said, I don't know how to do this, and quickly walked off without looking back.
Aww.
Treadmill still going. Favorite water bottle left behind.
Aww.
Isn't that sad? Like, oh.
Poor baby. Although it sounds like they're a pretty fit person, so that seems kind of weird to be like, oh, baby, to this potentially big buff person.
I spent a good 20 minutes in my car trying to process what had happened. The only conclusion I settled on was that I need to swap gym ASAP.
Oh,
TLDR, cute girl started conversation with me while walking on treadmill. Anxiety took over, let treadmill push me off of it, and proceeded to make a fool of myself before a full-blown power walking out of the gym. Left the treadmill running and my favorite water bottle behind and came to the conclusion I need to switch gyms.
Listen, this movie writes itself, okay? This is like, it can be a perfect meet cute, you know?
That's what everyone said in the comments.
Forever. The only part that's like, was when you say, I'm sorry that I'm sorry if I'm bothering you. Like
right.
That's the only part that's like, that's the issue to rectify. Is like,
right.
that, like, no, it's not because you're bothering me.
Right.
It's because I think you're cute.
And I got nervous.
And I'm awkward as crap.
That's what pretty much all the comments were saying. This could be an absolute meet cute. And also the fact that you left your water bottle is the perfect reason to go back there.
I missed that detail.
Right.
I know we're past Valentine's Day now, but like come on. This could be the Valentine's story.
And people were also pointing out too that, like you mentioned, that comment that she made, she might have thought that it was about her. And clearly it wasn't, so he could definitely go back and use that as an excuse to start the conversation and be like, hey, I was just nervous. And so this is one of the comments going off that says, you could just try being honest. If you're honest about it and say you have social anxiety, it's going to be less of a weight on you talking to her, as she'll be aware of your anxiety and therefore probably more understanding. If it goes poorly, it's not much worse than it is right now, right? And you were honest and did your best to open up a little. If she doesn't appreciate it, the problem shifts to her, not you, and it wouldn't have worked out anyway. Try not to worry about it too much. I have really bad social anxiety as well, so I know that this is easier said than done, but that's the approach that I'd take.
And listen, if you're honest and it's because like she's attractive and you're
she'll probably be flattered.
Yeah, but that's kind of like, wow, I'm kind of slay.
She might find it really cute.
Like,
yeah,
like that's kind of a flex. You know,
exactly.
I made this fit person like unable to walk on a treadmill.
Exactly. Yeah, and like they mentioned, it's not going to be much worse than it is right now, right? They're literally like, I can't go back to that gym again because I'm embarrassed.
Yeah, that's a bit of overreaction.
So by being honest about it, like it can't get worse than that. So, and like they said, it takes the pressure off of them then in the conversation because they'll know, oh, they're socially anxious, you know? Then I need to be the one to do the heavy lifting in the conversation if I'm interested in this person at first until they feel more comfortable, you know?
Yeah.
And then someone else commented, and this got a lot of upvotes and got brought up a lot in the comments. They said, I get gut-twisting anxiety, particularly when I met my husband 14 years ago. It took both of us months before we even spoke to each other, and another few weeks before I learned his real name. I referred to him as cute guy when talking about him, and that's still how he's listed in my phone after all this time. One thing that helped me was breathing exercises while going towards him to lower my heart rate. Then I'd hold my breath intermittently and breathe out slowly, but naturally if it wouldn't go down. Don't do it so long that you pass out. But these things help me get my courage, and they may help you as well. Good luck. So here we go.
Now, that wouldn't have helped in that situation, though, because he was already on the treadmill.
Exactly.
She approached him. There was no prep time.
There's no prep time.
It just came to him in the wild.
Exactly. But here we go. Here's some edits and followed by the update. So edit 1. Wow, so I didn't expect people to be so kind and encouraging in the comments. I sort of posted it for the laughs, and I've gotten an overwhelming amount of kind words and great advice. Thanks for that. I've opted to go to the gym Saturday during my usual time. I've seen her there on weekends, so maybe my luck will play out. Sadly, when I called, my water bottle wasn't at the treadmill I left it on or returned to the desk. Thank you again, everyone. Edit 2.
She stole it. She's a thief. You don't want to be with her. Just kidding. I don't know.
Edit 2. For everyone asking, I will without a doubt update this post if I see her tomorrow or Saturday. Sunday is my day off. If I don't see her this weekend, I will still update when I do see her. Of the past 3 days I was there, I've seen her all 3, so odds are I'll run her into her this weekend. The handful of people that personally message me sharing your stories and kind words, it means more than you can imagine. Thanks again. Edit 3. Well, today was a miss. Didn't run into her, and my water bottle is still nowhere to be found. To everyone saying she's holding on to it, I sure friggin' hope so. To those seemingly annoyed I was hitting on a girl at the gym, she approached me with a casual conversation. All I did was smile at her. I'm confused as to what post you read because it clearly wasn't mine. To all of you that continue to provide me laughs and genuine kindness, thank you. I will update it again tomorrow and likely create a new post when I do eventually, hopefully, run into her. To those here because they want to see what happened to my water bottle, I appreciate your support as well. LOL. Here we go. Update.
I get the trepidations with, like hitting on someone at the gym because that does happen. Like, is kind of like, oh, come on, don't do that. Like, don't let people work out. But that's just them having a conversation. Right. Doesn't say anyone's hitting on each other.
No,
they're
and she just
having
approached
conversation.
Him, and he was like, "Oh, pretty girl," and then
they're just vibing. I like the gross summary of like run, pretty girl.
It was so funny. Someone in the comments wrote like from her perspective, like how that must have played out, and like wrote out the entire story, but from her perspective of what she witnessed, and it was pretty funny.
Is the update actually like there's her stories out there on Reddit or something?
I don't know. We'll see. Update. New post for those who care. The water bottle has been confirmed safe in all caps.
That's the most important part.
The most important part.
That's the part we were wondering about. Justice for water bottle.
Justice for water bottle. I went to the gym today and I ran into her again. Ironically enough, didn't even know she was there till I went to the back and pulled out my yoga mat to start stretching. She was already back there getting ready to leave, at least it looked like. By some miracle, I was able to apply some of the breathing techniques so many kind people shared with me and was able to not only have a smooth conversation, I not once felt my anxiety set in until the conversation had actually ended. So thank you again for all of you kind Reddit peeps.
Wait, so who initiated?
Sounds like he did.
Okay.
She has my water bottle. She didn't have it with her, but she says it's at her apartment. She forgot to put it back in her car after washing it, she said. I outright told her story about the other day, letting her know the mix of my nervousness and post-workout exhaustion had my mind completely fried. She apologized again for interrupting my workout and said she should have waited till I left the gym to try and say anything to me on our way out. We chatted for a good 10 minutes, mainly small talk about our workout routines, stuff we do outside the gym, and a slight bit about our work lives. The conversation went smooth as butter for what I normally dish out. She gave me her phone number so I could reach out to set up a day to meet her at the gym next week to get my water bottle back. I texted her a solid hour-ish ago, and we've just been chatting ever since. We're going to the local farmer's market tomorrow to hang out and get some food. She is going to bring my water bottle with her, in all caps.
Again, the most important detail is the water bottle safe.
We need to know. Needless to say, Reddit came through. Thank you, people. I truly am grateful for your kind words that help me face anxieties I've dealt with for a few years now. Strangers on the internet aren't all bad, and you kind people have been proof of that. To clear a few things up off the rip, she offered me her phone number. I didn't go out of my way to pick up the girl at the gym. I didn't go back there anticipating to make a friend or get a date. My goal was to apologize and retrieve my water bottle as respectfully as possible.
The water bottle. That is the important detail. This cannot be stressed enough. Operation Save the Water Bottle. Even if they go on a date, the objective is to get the water bottle from her apartment. That's the only objective that matters. I'm really focused on this water bottle aspect. I just think it's funny the way they wrote the story.
I know. I have made a friend, and that's all I know right now. That's enough for me. So yeah, that's the story. I thought that was really cool. Reddit.
So did he get the water bottle back?
We don't know.
What the heck? Okay, we will keep an eye on the story, and if we see the water bottle come back,
we're really looking out for the important details for you guys.
After 49 episodes, this is like the most important.
The most important
details. The fate of this water bottle, this perfectly replaceable water bottle.
There we go. But yeah, I just thought this was a great story where Redditors came through with some really good ways of looking at the situation, ways to address it going forward so that they don't have to hopefully have a repeat of the situation happen again, knowing about the breathing techniques to help them calm their anxieties. I thought those were great ideas, and it was awesome to see that he was able to execute with them and actually have a great conversation with her and make a friend out of the whole situation.
Yeah.
So,
and sure, it could be more, and like that's
right, but going in
exciting,
being excited about having a new friend is a great way to look at it.
That's the right way to approach it, especially when you don't want to ruin the gym for yourself or for somebody else. You don't want to make someone feel uncomfortable at the gym.
Right. So yeah, and who knows? This could become something more. You never know.
It could.
So very exciting. We'll keep an eye out and see if there's any more updates down the road, because you never know.
Because that water bottle.
That does happen on Reddit sometimes. You might see
you need to know.
Cute little moment that happened and turns into, hey, we're married, like 4 years later. You never know. It's happened.
Why did she take the water bottle? Why didn't she give the lost and found?
That is kind of odd. She took it home to wash it.
Conspiracy.
She was hoping he'd come back.
See, I don't think it's safe until I hear that it is safe, or...
Yes. All right, on to our next story. This one comes from Casual Conversation, and it is titled, Whenever I get unpleasant/cringe memories, I start to imagine tiny janitor people in my head using a vacuum to suck out and empty the memories, and it works.
Sounds like an episode of SpongeBob SquarePants.
It does.
It does. The SpongeBob running out of his head and stuff. I don't think they were janitors, but I don't know.
Here we go.
Good SpongeBob vibes.
Like literal tiny maintenance versions of myself would suck up these memories with a vacuum and then empty it out into this garbage chute in my head. And I swear it works. Well, for a while, LOL. But the crappy memory just goes away instantly and I can return to whatever I was doing. Most of the time just trying to sleep. It reminds me of that SpongeBob episode. where there were tiny
I'm
little
on my game right now.
where there were tiny little SpongeBobs running around in his head, and they all had cubicles and computers and fax machines and such. But try it. Next time your brain decides to play an unpleasant memory, imagine in your head tiny versions of you going, listen up, we got another one. Let's go. Get the vacuums out. This is a bad one, folks. This one is about a girl. And then imagine these little worker versions of you in your head sort of sucking this memory, which would be in the shape of just a photograph, I think, into this vacuum. And then they empty it out into this waste disposal bin in your head. Do it again and again until your brain stops playing these thoughts and memories. To which someone responded, someone once told me they play the Seinfeld music in their head whenever they do something embarrassing / cringe, and I started doing it. It really does work by making the situation comical, as if you're a TV character. Exactly. I just thought that was great, because sometimes when you're late at night laying in bed, I don't know if anyone else, I'm sure a lot of people probably experience this, where you're like, oh my gosh, I'm anxious about this thing coming up, or I'm cringing at this thing that happened when I was a child, or these thoughts come up. And so being able to do that, to imagine, nope, I'm sucking these memories up, they shouldn't be there, or I'm sucking up the anxieties in my head, they shouldn't be there, and or making it comical, like this person said, by imagining the Seinfeld theme song little playing or whatever. Having those little mechanisms in place of like, this is how I handle this, it might not solve the problem, but it might help a little bit at least. It keeps your mind distracted from what you're having anxieties about or having those bad memories of. So I thought that was a really smart idea. Yeah. Kind of cool. All right. On to our next story. This one also comes from Casual Conversation. And it is titled, Joined a Random Silent Beach Dance Party with Strangers and Felt Such Pure Joy. Here we go.
Okay.
Hey, y'all. Thought you would like the story. So it's my last day of my first solo trip. I've been traveling for 4.5 months through Europe. I decided to go on a day trip and rent a bike and go to the beach. Once I got to the beach, I saw a huge crowd of people and was like, what's going on? I noticed they were dancing, but I didn't hear any music. Then I saw that they were wearing headphones, but were clearly all listening to the same music.
Like a silent DJ party? Or a silent dance party?
Yeah. I sat far away from them, but watched grinning because it was just so wholesome. People of every age just vibing. I then was like, why don't I join? Oh, but what if it costs money? Oh, but they don't speak the same language as you. Screw it, let's go. I walked up to them, and without having to say a word, a guy hands me some headphones, and I drop my stuff and go into the crowd, dancing and swaying and vibing. I walked into the ocean and danced with the waves, and then danced with different people that were around. I stayed for almost 2 hours without realizing how much time was passing. There were music of all genres. I gotta say, that was an incredible experience. I was so sad this morning since I'm going home, but dancing with strangers made me forget my woes and gave me such joy. Also, as someone who used to have extreme anxiety, I'm really proud of myself for joining a group of strangers in a foreign country and just being myself, dancing like no one was watching. Anyway, that's it. That's the post.
Yeah, we have to try this at some point. It keeps being recommended to us by like my mom and stepdad and like.
It sounds so fun, but also like I get it though. And the reason why I included this is they mentioned about having anxiety of trying new things and doing it. Screw it. I'm doing it anyways.
Just do it.
Just do it. And I know for me, I'm the same way. Like I'm somebody that is so self-aware when I'm out on a dance floor of like, oh gosh, I probably look really awkward. I'm not really good at dancing. I don't know. What if people think I'm weird because I'm not good at dancing? And so trying to push through that anyway and just try to lose yourself in the enjoyment of the experience without instead alcohol. Of being in your head.
Because with the alcohol makes it easier.
That's true. But just trying to lose yourself in the enjoyment of it instead of being in your head and just push through it. Because by doing that, you're more likely to have a fun experience from it, and then it'll be easier the next time you go to do it because you'll be like, oh, yes, I might be nervous about doing it, but I've also had a great experience doing it in the past, so I feel like I can do it again. And it'll just get easier and easier and easier because you have those good experiences, because you pushed through it, you know? So I thought that was a great example of that and something that kind of inspires me because, as a matter of fact, we're going to be going on a trip with some family pretty soon, and one of the activities that they have is silent dance party, and I'm nervous about it, but I also really want to try it because I've heard it's so fun. So this was a great inspiration to me of like, just go for it. Try not to be in your head and just enjoy it and, just push through it, even if it might seem awkward at first or you might feel like you're awkward. Just do it because it might be a lot of fun.
I haven't seen it much yet, but I have seen a couple instances of like weddings where they've done the silent dance party in lieu of a DJ. Like that sounds interesting. I don't know if I like that for every wedding, but like that'd be
so
interesting.
Cool. And I feel like there's something about it with being able to pick the music that you're listening to. I feel like it makes you more comfortable. I would imagine you feel more comfortable dancing because it's a song that you're familiar with versus I remember like in school dances, there was a lot of songs that I wasn't listening to that were popular at the time. And so everybody's like mouthing the words and dancing out. And I'm like, I don't know this song. I'm pretending like I do, So being able to pick the song that you feel like you can really jive with, I feel like it just makes it more fun. So I think it's a great idea. It's super cool. So I'm excited to try it.
As long as the headphones are disinfected.
That's true.
Because that could be gross.
All right. On to our next story. This one comes from Tales from Your Server, and it is titled A Wholesome Story from Last Night.
I haven't heard that thread before.
Yeah, it's a great thread. I had an actual wholesome encounter at work last night, and I thought I would share and try to bring some positivity to the sub. So I work at a small chain of mid-high range Italian restaurants in the UK, and I had been asked to cover a shift last night, Monday, as someone was sick. I had worked all weekend and barely made any money in tips, so I thought, screw it. I don't usually do weekdays, but I need the cash. I thought that it would be dead quiet as it's midweek, but I ended up with an 8-table section full for a while, and full disclosure, I'm not the best server. I only started serving in a proper restaurant in August, and even though it seems like a while, my muscle memory of serving has only just started to develop.
When was it posted?
I don't know. It just says 6 years ago.
Okay, so we don't know.
We don't know how long that was.
August doesn't help us at all. That could be a month, could be 6 months.
We don't know. Busy sections stressed me out, but I was trying to keep calm and things were going smoothly. I get a youngish woman come into a small table on her own and she's doing uni work. I go and take her order and I get chatting to her, but I can't really go on forever because I'm super busy. Food and drinks come out quickly, and as I'm clearing her table, I'm asking her about her work she's doing, and we have a really good back and forth for a while. Then she asks for the bill. Payment is done, and as she leaves, I see her talking to my manager, and my heart sinks. You know the feeling. You've done your best, and it's not good enough. I put it past me, and I just keep on top of my tables. Whilst I'm at the pass, my manager comes over and says the woman had come up to her to praise me. She said she had never been to a restaurant on her own before and was really anxious about it, but I had made her night and relaxed her, and she said she had phoned her boyfriend before she came in thinking she couldn't do it, but now she feels like she conquered her anxiety around it. Not a super interesting story, but it feels nice to know you made somebody's day, and it made my night. Yeah, I just thought that was a really cool story from both perspectives, and both in that she went out of her way to, again, give a compliment, which is pretty rare. People don't always do that, so awesome in that sense. But also the fact that she went out of her way to try to push through an anxiety of something that she was nervous about, and by doing that, she felt like she conquered it and stuff. And that's another example too of just pushing through the anxieties and stuff like that to try it out and stuff. And then if it goes badly, then maybe, for something like that, if you didn't like eating by yourself at a restaurant, then don't do it again. But you can at least say that you tried, and pushing through that. So
and OP conquered a busy section without being curmudgeony and ruining people's nights by having a bad attitude, because it could be easy to fall into the bitter route when you're having a really
stressful night,
busy night and such. I mean, I feel like you can relate more than I just from being a server specifically. But you've always had a chipper attitude and stuff. But I've heard stories from you about being rushed with unexpected busy sections and stuff.
Right, 100%. So yeah, that was a cool little story. And then we got, let's see here, a couple more stories. We got one here that's short. This one's from the subreddit Tumblr, and it was wholesome stories. This one's funny. Here we go. I was walking my dog through Boston because he likes the car rides. He's a little thing, to be honest. We call him short and long. So this huge, scary man with a full beard approaches me like, hey, can my buddy and I pet your dog? He gets nervous around
dogs. Can I pet that dog? Can I pet that dog?
He gets nervous around dogs, but yours is so small, I think it's a good place to start. Of course, I was like, yes, he's very friendly. So this guy brings his equally big friend over and they sit on the floor while this man looks terrified of my tiny dog. So big man number 1 asks, can I pick him up? And I say yes. So he picks him up and puts him on man number 2's lap, and man number 2 is about to freak out, and his friend straight up just goes, hey man, it's okay. Just relax. I'd never let anything hurt you. He's a good boy. I'll never forget it ever, because I know that man looked at me, 5'3", glasses, probably wearing a sweater vest, and my dog, kind of goofy looking little thing, and was like, ah yes, the 2 least intimidating living things I've seen in Boston all day. He'll feel relaxed around them, and went out of his way to help his friend. It makes me so happy.
Mm.
So sometimes you can help your friends or your family that have anxieties about stuff by kind of helping prod them to kind of push through them and persevere through them. Obviously, like, read the room. Don't push them way too far out of their comfort zone. But if you see an opportunity where you can help somebody out, I think we should take it.
Yeah.
Because in this situation, it sounded like it was a pretty good intro to, being having access to a dog that's small and very friendly to kind of open that door into being around dogs and getting over that anxiety.
Yeah.
So
with respect to, whatever their
comfort level.
If it's a phobia, there's only so much you can do with that.
Right.
But it sounds like it was just general nervousness or unfamiliarity.
Exactly. So yeah, very, very sweet little story. All right. Last Reddit post, but I thought this one was really, really interesting, which is why I really wanted to share it, because I thought it was a really profound way of putting this. I apologize because this is very long, but I think it's really, really interesting. Here we go. This is from the subreddit True Off My Chest, and it is titled, Life is So Gray. When I was younger, everything felt simple. Not necessarily easy, but simple in the sense that there was always a next step, a clear direction, a right way to do things. If I studied, I'd pass a test. If I practiced, I'd get better at my sport. If I followed the rules, I'd stay on track. Life moved forward in a straight line like climbing the rungs of a ladder, one foot after the other, up and up and up. I didn't question this structure because it was all I knew. And honestly, it was comforting. The certainty of it all. The feeling that as long as I did what I was supposed to, things would work out. Teachers handed out syllabi at the start of the year, neatly mapping out what was coming. Coaches had game plans. Parents had advice. Even when things got hard, there was always a framework, a way forward. I think about how movies portray childhood memories, colors cranked up to impossible brightness, the world rich and saturated, full of warmth. Because when you're a kid, things feel solid, the rules make sense, the paths are laid out. You don't realize how much of your life is being decided for you, and in a strange way, that makes things feel safe. Then at some point, it all disappears. The structure, the guideposts, the sense of certainty. And suddenly, life stretches out in front of you like a blank map, and you're holding the pen unsure of what to draw. That moment, the moment you realize no one is handing you the next step anymore, is terrifying. Because if there's no clear right choice, what's stopping you from making the wrong one? There wasn't a single moment when it all changed. It happened gradually, like the end of a song fading out until you realize there's no music playing anymore. At first, I kept waiting for the structure to return. I thought maybe adulthood had its own version of lesson plans and progress reports, that someone, anyone, would step in and hand me a checklist of what to do next. But that never happened. Instead, I was met with an unsettling quiet. No more automatic next steps, no more guarantees. And with that silence came an unexpected weight. I started second-guessing everything. Not just the big, obvious life decisions, but the small, everyday ones too. Was I supposed to stay where I was or move? Take this job or hold out for something better? Was I wasting time? Making the wrong choices? Shouldn't I know what to do? I realized then that I had spent years assuming every decision had a right answer, that life was a series of multiple choice questions, and if I just looked hard enough, I'd find the correct one. But now it felt like I was staring at a blank page, trying to write in pen, afraid of messing up. No one told me how heavy uncertainty could be. And the worst part? I started believing that not knowing meant I was failing, that if I wasn't moving in a clear direction, I must be doing something wrong. I looked around at other people, some who seemed so sure of their path, and wondered why I couldn't feel that same clarity. But then I asked myself, what if they're just as unsure as I am? What if we're all just making it up as we go? For so long, I thought the goal was to figure out the right path, to make the right choices, to avoid the wrong ones at all costs. But lately, I've started wondering, what if there isn't a right choice? What if there's just a choice? That question should feel freeing, but for a long time, it actually paralyzed me. I became so obsessed with making the right move that I stopped moving altogether. Every option felt like a risk. If I picked wrong, I'd waste time, waste effort, maybe even waste years. What if I chased the wrong career, moved to the wrong city, invested in something that wouldn't pay off? Every path had its unknowns, and instead of picking one, I stood still, overthinking every possibility. And the longer I stood still, the harder it became to take any action at all. I convinced myself that not deciding was better than making the wrong decision, that staying in place was safer than stepping in the wrong direction. But that's the thing about waiting. Nothing changes. The fear doesn't go away. The answers don't magically appear. You just sit in the same uncertainty, hoping for clarity that never fully comes. At some point, I had to ask myself, what if the only way forward is to move, even if I'm not sure? What if the worst outcome isn't choosing wrong, but never choosing at all? So maybe the next thing isn't the right thing. Maybe it's just something, a step, a choice, a movement. And maybe that's enough. At some point, I realized that life wasn't black and white, but it also wasn't gray. Gray implies balance, a predictable mix of extremes, something stable. But that's not what life feels like. Life is more like an off-white, uncertain, shifting, something that looks different depending on the light. I used to think uncertainty was something to fix, a problem to solve. But what if uncertainty isn't the enemy? What if it's just part of being alive? The truth is, I don't know if I'll ever feel 100% certain about anything, and maybe that's okay. Maybe I don't need to know. Maybe the point isn't to eliminate doubt, but to learn how to exist alongside it, to accept that I can move forward without having every answer. Some days, that's easier said than done. On those days, I remind myself, not knowing doesn't mean I'm lost. Just because I don't see the full path doesn't mean I'm not on one. No decision is final. Even if something doesn't work out, I can pivot, I can start over, I can change my mind. Other people don't have it all figured out either. Some just get better at pretending. Waiting for clarity won't bring clarity. The only way to figure out what works is to try something, anything. I used to think confidence meant being sure of everything. Now I think it means being okay with uncertainty. Life is never going to be neat or obvious. It's never going to fit into clear categories of right and wrong, but maybe that's the beauty of it. Maybe life is meant to be lived in the off-white. I think back to all the times I agonized over a decision, convinced that one wrong move would ruin everything. I stressed, I overanalyzed, I played out every worst-case scenario in my head. And yet, when I look back now, most of those choices, whether they turned out right or not, don't carry the same weight they once did. Some of the things I worried about didn't matter at all. Other things didn't go how I expected, but they still led me somewhere meaningful. And the most surprising part, some of my so-called mistakes ended up being the best things that ever happened to me. At the time, I didn't see it that way. At the time, I was convinced I'd taken a wrong turn. But looking back, I can see that every decision, good, bad, uncertain, shaped me. The job I took because I thought I had to, it taught me what I didn't want. The opportunity I turned down out of fear, it made me realize I need to be braver. What I once saw as missteps were actually just steps, part of the path, part of the process. I wonder what choices I'm agonizing over right now in a few years I'll see differently. I wonder if I'll laugh at how much I overthought things, how I was so afraid of getting it wrong when in the end, everything was just unfolding the way it needed to. It makes me think, if I'm going to look back someday and see that everything worked out one way or another, then why not trust that now? Why not let go of some of the pressure? Maybe I don't need to know if I'm making the perfect decision. Maybe I just need to make a decision and trust that I'll figure out the rest along the way. I used to believe that one day I'd wake up and just know. That clarity would arrive like a neatly wrapped package. Here's your answer, here's your direction, here's the certainty you've been waiting for. But that day never came. And I don't think it ever will. Because life doesn't work like that. There's no singular moment where everything clicks into place, no guarantee that the path we're on is the one we're meant to take, no cosmic confirmation that we're doing this whole life thing correctly. And maybe that's not a bad thing. Maybe the goal isn't to have everything figured out, maybe the goal is to get comfortable with not knowing, to make peace with the ambiguity instead of fighting it, to stop treating life like a problem to solve and start seeing it as something to experience. So what if I don't know what's next? So what if I don't have a perfect plan? I'm still here. I'm still moving, I'm still learning. And maybe that's enough. Maybe I'm enough. Right now, in the middle of the uncertainty, in the middle of the mess, in the middle of the off-white.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything to add to that. That's
I don't think so either. But I just, I think both me and Wyatt are like having stuff going on in our life of like that kind of feeling of what choice do I make? Where should our life direction go with things and stuff like that in a lot of different aspects.
Listen, you gotta have faith. That's
and be okay with the uncertainty. I think that's a really good way of thinking about it, because I think that is a really hard place to get to, of feeling okay with the uncertainty. And that's where a lot of anxiety comes from, is the uncertainty and the not knowing what's going to happen, and not knowing what if I make the wrong choice, or I do the wrong thing, or I don't perform correctly, or whatever these things are, and learning to be okay with that uncertainty and know that even if you do have one of those wrong things in your mind happen, that it might lead to something positive anyway down the road, or it might not be as big as you're thinking it is right now. I thought that was a really profound way of putting it. And like I said, it was very long, but there was a lot of really good points in there that when I read it, I was like, I could condense this down, but I feel like there's so much that people could take different areas and be like, oh, that's helpful in my life in some way, or a different way of looking at my life right now. So I thought it was worth putting it on this podcast, because if it can help me, maybe it could help somebody else.
Mm-hmm. I know for us, and the only thing I can really add to that is just having like our faith in God and stuff, and feeling that, and this trusting that what's going to happen is what's meant to happen, and that even the trials and tribulations are all things that are helping shape us or guide us down the path that we're supposed to go, and it's longer than we can even imagine, where it's going to go and how things are going to shake out, the good, the bad, just that they're all just part of the journey. And we have to trust, like you were talking about when we were on a road trip not long ago, about like how we both have to work on kind of like letting go and just kind of trusting a little bit,
My mom and I use the analogy of being on a lazy river where you don't know where the paths go, and how you just got to let the lazy river be a lazy river and not fight it. Because if you're swimming against the tide, you're not going to go anywhere, because it's pushing you. If you are pushing against it, you're just going to be stuck. And like this OP was mentioning, being stuck, it might be even worse than taking a step, even if it's not the direction you meant to go, or that you want to go.
Mm-hmm. You added to that in our car drive, was that like I trust the river, like let it take me, and you're like but you're still holding on, like but go this direction.
Not realizing that I'm
go this direction,
dragging my foot on the bottom of the pool, not letting the lazy river push me,
to try to guide it in the direction that you think you're supposed to go.
Right, exactly.
Or you think that you have to go, rather than just like let it go where it's where it's gonna go.
Right, exactly. Resisting life, and thinking I know exactly like what path or I shouldn't go down, when really like a lot of things in life that we can look back on, we're like, I didn't expect to go this direction, but that's where life took me, and it ended up being a lot better than the path that I thought I wanted to take. There's a lot of that. I mean, for example, I've talked about this on the podcast, like I was dead set that I wanted to be a movie director for a really long time, and we went to a film school, and we're looking at their programs, and at this particular film school,
to be clear.
So we didn't like actually go.
We visited a few actually.
We just were visiting. This was at AFI in California.
Yeah, we visited Columbia College, AFI, and USC.
But at AFI, you actually apply to a program specifically. So you pick your major to apply to the school, which is a lot of pressure. You have to
it's a grad program essentially, so you kind of have to know what your focus is at that point.
And so what's funny is, at that time, I did not like film editing. I didn't know enough about it. I hadn't really had much exposure to it.
No, you scoffed at that one.
And so when we were talking about what programs, I was like, the last one I would even consider is the film editing one. Like, that's the last bottom of my list. And now video editing is my sole thing that I enjoy doing for video production at all. Like, that's my favorite part. And that's what I do full time now. So it's just so funny, because I was like, no, I don't want to go down that path. That doesn't sound fun to me. That doesn't sound like a path I want to pursue at all. And through life's meanderings of things that have happened, I've ended up on this path, and I love it. So it's just funny. Sometimes you think you know the direction you want to go, and life takes you on a journey to figure out what it actually is. You never know. But and I was so stressed at that point in my life of knowing if I was making the right choices, if I was applying to the right schools, if we were going to move to LA or not. Like there were so many decisions that I was like, I have to make the right decision. If I make the wrong step, it's going to be disastrous. And looking back, I'm like, no, everything worked out the way it was supposed to, and I'm happy with where things ended up. But at that time, it was so scary, and I was so worried about making the wrong choice. But as they mentioned in the story, like, even if you make the wrong choice, you're allowed to change your mind. You're allowed to make pivots. You're allowed to, make other choices and stuff. So you're not ever stuck. There's always opportunities to figure something else out if you don't like the direction you're in.
That's it. But the OP's point is also like that you got to take actionable steps too. Like you can't just kind of sit there and just do nothing. Like, hey, well, that's going to get good now.
Yeah.
All right, get to work. Chop, chop. I'm waiting.
Right.
No, you still have to do stuff.
Yeah. Make a step.
Yeah.
So anyways, hopefully maybe someone listening can take something interesting from this post, and thanks to that person that posted that, because I was really like, wow, reading it. So yeah. All right, on to our news article for today. This one is from fox29.com, and it is titled, High School Student Aims to Ease Anxiety for Kids Who Have to Be in Court. A local high school student in South Jersey has come up, his name's Andrew Pasalacqua. He created a thing called Crayons for Courts, and he's raising money to purchase thousands of coloring supplies for kids that are in court hearings in family court. To quote the article, the 17-year-old said a few years ago he was inside a family courtroom because his mom is a judge and felt determined to make a difference after witnessing a child as young as 5 to 7 years old exposed to the stress of a courtroom. I felt horrible for the kid, and those type of memories don't go away even if you're 5-year-old or 6-year-old or 10 years old. They stick with you, said Pasalacqua. You hear your parents arguing, and that makes you upset, especially a little kid, and it was just horrible for me to see. He's raised over $3,000 to get a bunch of coloring books, crayons, activity books, stickers, and things like that to have ready available in the courts for little kids that are going to family court. And he's hoping to turn it into a nonprofit for the entire state. And then last quote, if you have an idea, go do it, because the worst that can happen is someone says no and you can think of something else, said Pasalacqua. Kind of going into that last story, like,
that's fair.
Go for it. And if it doesn't work out, you can always do something else.
Yeah, that's kind of how you approach this podcast too.
That is 100% it. In fact, I've said this before, I believe, but the whole thing that pushed me to actually do it for this podcast was someone, John Green was on a Smoshcast episode, which is on a YouTube channel, and on Smosh Mouth. And he was saying that if you have an idea for something, just go for it, even if you're nervous about it, even if you're anxious about it, because the worst that can happen is it doesn't work out and you free up space in your mind to try something else because it's not taking up that space anymore. So pushing through those anxieties, if you have an idea, to just go for it, because again, worst that's going to happen is it doesn't go anywhere, and then you can try something else. And you won't have to wonder what if this would be a good thing to do, or what if it would be successful, or whatever. You can just move on then. So yeah, I just thought that was a very profound thing that he said, and it really helped push me to actually start this podcast, which next week is our 50th episode already, which is crazy. I can't believe it's already our 50th. Yeah. And so
well, we launched with 5 episodes initially, so not quite a year technically.
That's true. But still, 50 episodes, it's crazy.
Getting close there to a year though.
So yeah, try, if you're wanting to do something, just go for it. Push through those anxieties. And so, yeah, next week's episode, as I mentioned, our 50th, is going to be about supporting people's goals. And so we have some really awesome stories about people that help support other people's wishes and dreams and stuff like that. If you have any positive stories that you would like to share with us, or if you have any hopeful news articles that you found that you think would be worth sharing, please send them to us at upliftingpositivestories@gmail.com, or you can post them on our subreddit, Uplift Positive Stories.
And if you're watching on YouTube, please hit that like and subscribe button. Feel free to leave a comment. We do read them.
Thank you so much for listening, and we hope you all have a wonderful rest of your week.
And stay positive.